Hello and welcome to the Deep NBA podcast. My name's Sean and joining me as always is the one and only Dante Boffa. Mr. Boffa, man, how are we?
I'm good, Sean. Ask me what I did with my afternoon.
What did you do with your afternoon?
I watched the cricket.
Really?
Or as the French call it, the cricket. Did
you know
watch
there's a
it?
thing called French cricket?
What is it?
You get a cricket bat and you put your legs right together like shoes touching and you hold your bat like flipping upwards, and then what you do is the bowler underarms it at your legs and you have to hit it away, and then when you hit it you can run as far away as possible. One of the fielders gets it and then has to throw from that position, and if it hits your legs you're out.
Sounds even worse than normal cricket.
No way. You do it as a good warm-up for cricket training because you also get to run around and like laugh and say French words and stuff. I mean, I did when I was 14 anyway.
Yeah, it sounds like an absolute hoot. Here's my cricket take.
Yep.
David Warner, actually really shit batsman.
No.
He's really shit. He had 5 runs off 40 balls, which is like, how can you be so bad? My housemate Lawrence is saying he's actually one of the best batsmen in the world.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I'm not really seeing it. And then Marnus Labuschagne comes in and he just fucking, bam, 10 runs in the blink of an eye, doubles David Warner up, hasn't even been in for, like 5 minutes, he's already got 10 runs. And my third take, that Harris guy, so shit.
I guess if you watch one session of cricket, you've probably got like 3 takeaways, because that's probably what happens, especially in the first session. Like the whole point of the first, what are they on right now?
They're currently on 45 for 1. 25 overs. What's 25 times 6?
I don't know.
120, 150. Yeah, it's 150. Yeah. 150 balls to get 45 runs, so you're not even getting 1 run every 3 balls. Like, what is going on with the Australian batting order?
So with cricket, the first session, you've got a new ball coming at you. You've got fresh bowlers. These two happen to be some of the scariest bowlers you will ever face in the world. Stuart Broad, cunt, but great bowler. And Jimmy Anderson, prehistoric, but good bowler. The England's got something to prove after the first test, and these guys are just ripping right into you. And the whole point of just getting to lunch and getting to tea is just see them out, wear them down.
At lunch,
which is wear them down, stay in to be only 1 wicket down heading into after this first session, while you've got a red hot England team coming into you. It was
a terrible wicket.
Yeah, no, it's a great wicket for
England. But like for Sam, for Marcus Harris,
his first shot.
Yeah, he sucks. He's so shit, and he almost got out before that as well. And they had to do the review to like prove that he wasn't out.
Which means he's not out. Don't say almost not out, mate.
No, he fucking almost got out. Like if that happened, like he almost got out, and then he plays another like 10 overs, like whatever, forget about it. But he almost got out, and then 2 overs later he was out. So proof is that he's really shit. You know who I'm really excited to see?
Who?
Michael Neser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because apparently he's really cool. Oh. Getting his first cap.
Yeah, he's like an old bloke as well, isn't he?
Is he? I don't know. I'm just at this point I'm just spitting back stuff that my housemates told me. Shouts to Lawrence.
We've done a great job of just seeing off that new ball. And also Twilight cricket. It's so fun. I'm going to the pub after this, and I can't wait to just sit there, watch cricket, just slowly simmer into the drunken world while wearing a bright yellow t-shirt.
Yeah, you're wearing a yellow and gold Wallabies t-shirt. It's pretty fresh. Yeah, it's pretty magnificent.
Pretty froggy fresh.
If it's your vibe, which obviously it is, it's pretty good.
Oh wow, that's a backhanded compliment. It's like, hey, that's an awesome shirt. If you're into that.
I meant it as a front-handed compliment.
Oh, beautiful.
Like a slap in the face compliment.
I had some witty comment to make about the cricket.
Doesn't sound like
actually,
you.
So, one thing that really, really enthuses me about this second session after this podcast, which we're both going to watch, I'm sure, is as soon as Marcus Labuschagne came in, that's how you pronounce his name.
He's on my wheat bix every morning.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
You got little like indents of cricket players on your wheat bix?
No, it's just him and Elise Perry.
Oh, no. How many do you do?
I do 5, and then I see how I feel. Usually ends up being 7.
I have once eaten 2 HSPs, large ones back to back, and I feel fine. But when it comes to wheat bix, I can't do more than 3.
2 HSPs back to back is like a crime against humanity. It is like
Like,
that is obscene.
I'll eat so many dinners, but with brekkie, I actually saw this really good idea. I went out for a coffee somewhere, can't remember it. Shouts to them, but they had a thing called a medium breakfast. So you know how you've got your big breakfast? Yeah. This was everything but half. So one hash brown, one piece of toast, one egg, and that's perfect.
See, but then you get through half a bacon and you're like, I could go some more bacon.
No.
Medium breakfast, but you cut out the beans and the tomatoes. And you just get the same amount of bacon, 2 eggs, get the mushies, bread,
spinach.
Fuck the hash brown off because I don't really like hash browns.
Are you serious?
I would
surely that's like the only thing you can eat there at the moment anyway.
Well, like out of that medley, it's the spinach, it's the veggies. I just don't really like hash browns. Never really have liked a hash brown.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Jeez.
I wish that I did, but I just don't.
So anyway, Marnus comes out and he blocks off the first ball and he just yells, "No run!" just making fun of David Warner, who's very grumbly with the no run, of an obvious no run. Blocks off the first ball from Stu Broad, and he goes, "No run!" and the sort of laughs at David Warner. I'm like, oh, he is so comfortable. This is going to be a long day for England.
Yeah.
It's all about confidence, baby.
Lawrence was filling me in about how Marnus Labuschagne's maybe a bit of a weirdo, and he does like a bit of weird stuff, and then Andrew Simons and Shane Warne were getting into him for being a weirdo.
Yeah.
But in like a really like over the top way.
Well,
where like he did something weird on the field, and then Shane Warne was like if he was in my locker room, like his guts would have been coming out of his ass, and it's like, whoa, that's pretty turbo. It's just cricket.
Yeah, Shane Warne's got some comments. But then again, like his name's Marnus.
Yeah,
you probably could have guessed
which
that.
is the most South African thing I've ever heard in my entire. I don't even know if he has South African heritage.
No, he is South African. You pronounce his surname.
What's he bloody doing?
You pronounce his surname Labuschagне. That's how it's pronounced in South Africa. Or Afrikaans, sorry.
That is just...
That's elite.
That's rogue.
Spelt the same way, I believe. But
surely it's got to be Labuschagne.
Well, that's what it is in English when you translate it.
Yeah, but what? Is it spelled the same way in Afrikaans?
You might have to Google that one.
Nah, I don't really care enough.
But yeah, his family name is Labuschagne.
So I googled.
That's cool.
I googled Michael Neza before just to see how old he was. He's 31. By the way, listener, I know you were hanging on to find out how old he was. He's also from South Africa, in a completely like non-racist way. What are all these blokes doing here? Do we really want them?
Go back to where you came from. Well,
there is I don't know. Is there something about white South Africans?
Actually,
I don't know. I'm not 100% sure.
Something that shocked me is like you've got the Australian cricket team and like you've got the Australian teams for everything. Something that just baffles me is that the coaches of a lot of these teams, and in rugby, I don't think there's a single coach that's not like this. All the coaches are literally like not even citizens of that country. They're from somewhere else. So like,
yeah, it's like soccer.
Yeah, what's with that? What,
some of the most random shit. Like you just have like an Argentinian guy like coaching like
Iceland.
Fucking like coaching like fucking Qatar.
But like surely like everyone on the team has a nationality of that country.
Well, most of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Like all of them technically, but like
but
Aston Villa right back Matty Cash is about to become a Polish citizen and play in the Polish team. So
my housemate was telling me about that guy who turned Chinese. He was like some Turkish dude, and then he changed his name, so it's like got an accent or something, and now he plays for the Chinese national team.
Damn. And there's this British as fuck guy who plays for Blackburn in the second division called Ben Brereton, and just before the Copa America last year, he like got his Chileances and shit, and then he started going by Brereton Diaz, and so he's just got Brereton Diaz on the back, and now he's like kept it, and he's back.
That's pretty cool, but why can't like all the players are of that nationality? Why do the coaches? Why are they exempt?
Well, because how many great Thai coaches are there on the world stage?
Get better.
Well, how do you get better? You get more eyeballs and more funding and more like, you know, publicity. And how do you do that? By being a good team. How do you be a good team? By getting a better coach. It's like the equivalent of like
players.
It's like but you can't get better players. It's like it's like a decades long investment to get better players. But the coach, you can. An NBA team can pay the coach whatever they want. So that's like the competitive advantage. The competitive advantage is like, yes, you as a nation, a footballing nation, you're tied to your grassroots production. But the coach, you can just do whatever you want. So Thailand can get a better, an advantage over Malaysia in the Asian Cup by bringing in like some dude who coached in Spain.
Ranieri.
Yeah, fucking dilly ding, dilly dong.
Final thing on the intro. So you're checking the time because you want to move on, but no, I love it. I got an email for being like, Socceroos. They're like, all right, just check out. You can reserve your ticket for our World Cup qualifier, and I love it when the Socceroos get a World Cup qualifier because it's always like, okay, Australia, here's like a war-torn country that has never played soccer in their lives. You need to lose to them 0-1, and then you're in the World Cup.
Well, don't say 0-1.
Oh, sorry, but you know what I mean. Like you've got a buffer of 1-0, and that's all you need to do to make the World Cup. And then it's like they struggle, but everyone goes nuts when they win it. So we're playing Vietnam on the 27th of January.
Yeah,
and that's our.
Is this the said war-torn country? That's
but like usually it's like I think it was like Afghanistan one year or something like that. But yeah, so we have to beat or draw with Vietnam on the 27th of January to make the World Cup, while like Italy missed out the other year, and they're clearly good enough to win the Euros.
You're gonna be there?
I was actually thinking about it because like the tickets couldn't be too much.
Nah.
Are you gonna be there?
No. We should definitely move on because this is rivaling the dentistry, the infamous dentistry intro of last week. But final comment before we start talking about. Before we talk about
the greatest shooter of all time.
Yeah, some rando. Is that I went to a Melbourne Victory game last.
I would say the Socceroos before the A-League.
It was the game was terrible. It was really shit. But we were right next to the South Terrace, the Melbourne Victory fans. But they were insane. They didn't stop the entire game. They were just drummed and chanting the whole time. It was very impressive. Okay, don't respond.
Can I respond? My mate's was the president of Melbourne Victory Cheer Squad.
That is such an interesting thing. He sounds like an interesting character.
He didn't even think it was an abnormal thing to be.
There was a few abnormal characters who were in and amongst the action. I'll say that much.
Yeah.
Like people who you're like, yeah, I'll steer clear of you. I'll give you like a wide berth.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'll let you intro this because it's your because it's your guy. So you can have the floor.
So the greatest shooter of all time has finally admitted to being the greatest shooter of all time after he surpassed Ray Allen and of course Reggie Miller before that as hitting the most 3-pointers of all time. That is Steph Curry. It was a long time coming, given that it was 4 games. It was
well, to be fair, some of the chat was a bit outrageous. He was like 13 threes away, and people were like,
"It's 15." Oh, like today's the day.
The 3 watch is on, and it's like, well, actually, that's pretty absurd.
Yeah. Like he would have had to beat a record for threes in the game to get some of that. But
yeah, it would have to take 30 threes to get.
Well, like, what if he just got hot? But like, I think he took like 18 one game, they took 17 the next game, and then 13 the next game, and like he does. I don't have it in front of me, but he's taking something like 11, 12, 13 a game, which is like another NBA record.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's obviously done it. He did it in Madison Square Garden, and like,
which is great,
which is amazing because like I still have that game where he scored 54 in New York on MP4 on a USB because that was before I had NBA League Pass, and I was just starting watching basketball in 2012, 2013, and that game was amazing. And I we're going to ask the question later, what are some of Steph's 3-pointers that you remember vividly? And that final one where he hit it and he starts just shaking his arms, running back with his eyes shut. Like that's. Anyway, I'm getting into the weeds there. But Steph,
better MSG performance. Steph's 50-point coming out or Linsanity at MSG.
Steph,
arguable.
What about Raymond Felton? Cheeky little 19-5 against Dallas.
Pre or post blowout?
Oh.
And by blowout, I don't mean drugs. I mean the chassis.
Oh, did he do drugs?
Nah, but he just got fat.
Oh,
he's got heaps fat.
Yeah.
Raymond Felton, arguably the Danny Rose of the NBA.
Danny Rose, is that the Watford player?
Yeah, he's a Watford player.
Is
I
he-
thought you'd get that because you're
I'm a Hornet.
you're a Hornet.
Right from the Hornets.
Danny
nest.
Rose is
He get
the
fat.
ex-Tottenham left-back who's now playing as a left-sided centre-back for Watford, and he's so fucking fat. Like, it's literally just retire.
Really?
Yeah, just retire.
He doesn't look that fat.
Nah, he's so... And every time the ball goes near him, he's just getting skinned by some young winger.
Wow.
He literally is just going through the motions, collecting the paycheck. Like, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Anyway, Raymond Felton walked so Danny Rose could run.
Yeah. Yeah, Steph Curry. I mean, like, we've talked about it heaps, and I'm actually, like, sort of a little bit speechless, and like, I don't know how we're going to drag this on for 10 minutes, but, like, he's just sort of done it. We all knew it was going to happen, and I mentioned pre-season when we were talking on the 4-man weave plus Marco, some of the things we're watching out for in this season. And I said around December, maybe early January, Steph Curry is going to get the 3-point record, and obviously he's having an MVP-worthy season. But here we are. And
I think there was an early like straw poll released the other day, and he had like 90 of the 100 first place votes for MVP.
yeah. Which is fair enough, but also Jeremy Grant was like an 100% lock for most improved player at the same point last season. So like,
yeah, well, and LeBron was a lock for MVP at the same point last season as well.
Stuff can change, but is looking very good. And also just like, so Steph got 2,974 threes in like 700 and something games, while Ray Allen had 2,973 threes in 1,200 games. Like,
yeah, so Ray Allen's making 2.5 threes a game.
and like Steph Curry is not done. Like, you know, if he plays out the rest of his contract, he's going to be playing for like another 4 years, right? Of course. And like, he's just going to stay with the Warriors, and whether that be on a minimum or if he just gets a nice little like Kobe Bryant maximum contract send off, probably doesn't deserve it sort of thing. Like, this number's not finished. And like, when you talk about guys breaking records, it's sort of like, you know, you think of Kobe passing MJ when he got that free throw in Minnesota and they stopped the game and he waved to the fans. Like, you know, that's the twilight of his career. Like, this is not it for Stephen Curry. Like, he's still going. He's still an MVP. And at a worst case scenario, he doesn't play at an MVP level next year, still makes plenty of threes. And you look at the number, and you look at the record for threes and threes made and the list of players in there, and there has never been a player like him shooting it at this higher volume before. And odds on, we're not going to see it for another generation, because, like, obviously there's heaps of kids right now growing up watching Stephen Curry, falling in love with it, and they're probably going to try and imitate him. And not just Trae Young. Like, Trae Young's come up and bloody well. There's going to be like the next generation of Trae Young moving forwards, because even Trae right now is like not on track to even come close to Steph Curry, because he's amazing. So it's like, this record's going to stand for a very long time, because the record's just going to keep getting blown out over and over and over again. And I can't wait to watch Warriors games in the future and just like hear people say that's another one to the record that just keeps growing.
I've got two things to say. One is that I'm currently looking at the all-time...
There's some fucking gross amount of Cole Korvers in there.
Well, I reckon that's sick that Kyle Korver's in there, and that he's high. I think what was he, 6th?
It just speaks a lot about like how much people didn't shoot threes as well.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so Kobe is at 19. Guess which current NBA All-Star rounds out the 20?
Harden?
Guess which current... No.
Can I have a couple of guesses?
No, well, yeah, you're way off on Harden. Yeah, you get 3 guesses.
Harden's like 5th or 6th.
Yeah, we'll talk about Harden in a second, because that's my second point.
So
which current NBA All-Star, prominent
20th.
NBA player, is 20th, and it's probably nestled in between Kobe and Klay Thompson, who's 21st.
I was like Dame.
It's not Dame. That's 2 guesses.
And we'll just say I get 7 guesses. Okay.
7 is my favorite number.
Okay, it's going to be, so if they're still an All-Star. Oh, is it like Kevin Durant?
Nah.
Oh, don't. I really like this. This is horrible listening.
It gets fucking rogue as, like, in the 20 to 30 range, there's some fucking names
There's
in
like
here.
J.R. Smith.
J.R. Smith is like 16th.
Mike Miller.
Yeah, I don't think Mike Miller's in the top 30, but come on, you get one more guess and I'm telling you. 20th all time.
Oh, is it LeBron?
Nah.
Okay, can I get another guess?
Okay, one more guess.
So current All-Star.
Here's how we're gonna drag this out to 10 minutes, because you're taking 7 minutes with 7 guesses.
Is it Paul George?
It's Paul George. Paul George is the 20th all time. Kevin Durant is 26th, and Wesley Matthews is 24th.
He played like 5 years.
Isn't that the most fucked up thing? Kevin Durant has 3 extra NBA seasons on Wesley Matthews, and Wesley Matthews is like 28 threes ahead of Kevin Durant on the list. That's pretty fucking insane.
Yeah.
Okay, the second thing that I want to talk about, and this is not like I'm not wishing ill, I'm not like, you know, trying to like put negative juju out there, but James Harden is 4th all time. He's gonna pass Reggie Miller probably in the next 2 months for 3rd all time. He's about 453s behind Steph and Ray currently.
Yeah.
Steph and Harden probably for the rest of their careers will make a similar amount of threes per game.
Let's say
assuming
150, right?
Assuming that, what, per
season?
No, way more than 150. 200 to 250, surely.
Okay.
So I think James Harden has two really good 3-point shooting seasons behind Steph for all time, and he's gonna fucking jack it up. He's a little bit younger than Steph. Steph's almost 34. Harden just turned 32, so it's like almost 2 years. It's not outside the realm of possibility that Harden finishes as the all-time leader. It's not, because all it would need is like Steph to like retire early or miss half a season with injury, and Harden just keeps going at his current pace, or even, you know, brings it back to like the 2018-19 form where he also banged in like 300 threes.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it's a race. I'm keeping my eye on that. I've been keeping my eye on that the last like 3 years, because he's always just been shadowing. It's been like obvious that he's going to end up 2nd all time when it's all said and done. But like, he's got those 2 years of good stuff, which is if Steph calls it before he does, you know that 35-year-old Harden is still taking 10 threes.
Yeah. But he'll be 35.
Yeah.
And like, he's not going to be at an MVP level of 35.
No,
most likely.
Yeah, but you don't need to be an MVP to hit threes.
Oh, I know. But the sort of threes that he takes, which is like very skilled,
yeah,
very will based. You know, it's like he uses his athleticism and his body to get these like very slim openings. Like, they're not Kyle Korver catch and shoots off, you know, running around the court.
Yeah.
Steph Curry, like, it just comes naturally to him. He's got such a lead already. Would say like 450 on him, and. I'm actually kind of excited to see 39-year-old Steph Curry. Like, he'll be coming off the bench. Right?
6 years.
He'll be coming off the bench, and like, he's going to get open threes because he's like not going to be able to go inside the paint. But teams aren't going to be hugging him like he is at an MVP level right now. And it's going to be really interesting to see like old man just put up some threes at home, and everyone goes crazy and makes like 2 a game. And is he
playing for Golden State or Charlotte?
He's playing for Golden State. And he's just like, he's literally Del Curry's prime, and he's just like walking out there. He's like, I'm the shooting guard, and I'm probably not going to do a great job at guarding my position. He's got little grey bits in his hair. Like, Steph's just going to be banging him like no matter where he is. That's not answering your question, but I'm not watching it very closely.
Yeah, why? I mean, I'm just like I'm not watching it closely, but I'm like, the shadow is definitely there. It's not like a fait accompli that Steph is gonna have this record for forever. Like, I think it's definitely a possibility that Harden makes it like really interesting. Just before we move on, something that's really nice. Ray Allen, the deposed king of the 3-point shot.
Yeah.
The king is dead, long live the king. Ray Allen's career 3-point field goal percentage, 40% exactly.
Oh,
40%.
That's really cool.
It's really lovely, isn't it?
One thing that, when I'm looking at all these records, one thing that I think about is that, like, Steph would have done this a year ago if Aaron Baines didn't fall on his hand, right? Like, and that sort of stuff. And it's like, you look at LeBron trying to chase Kareem Abdul-Jabbar for most points of all time, and it's like, you know, him missing that time with that groin injury in his first year with the Lonzo Ball Lakers. It's like, that really actually hurts his chase, because, like, you know, you have to be longeviable. Not a word. And I just think, like, no one thinks like this, and like when Aaron Baines falls on Steph Curry's hand, he's not like, damn, I'm not going to be able to put up an extra 153s on my record. But like, if you're Kyrie Irving or Ben Simmons, just for like all-time rankings, like they're just missing all that chunk of data. And like for me, when I'm looking at all this stuff and I'm looking at all these records and stuff, it's just a little bit disappointing that these guys are just going to throw away a year of production for reasons outside of basketball and just being able to play the game. And like, if LeBron James said, I don't want to get a vaccine, so I'm going to miss a year, obviously we're like, shit, no, LeBron James is going to be like, the NBA is worse off. But we're also a bit like, you're chasing Karl Malone. Like, sorry, you're chasing both of them, him and Kareem. Like, that's like really going to hurt your like all-time legacy. Like, if you're the number one scorer, that's awesome. So it's a bit like these guys are just throwing away like their chance to just...
Yeah, well, Kyrie would tell you that he doesn't care about.
And he shouldn't. Like, I'm not saying this is like something that people should care about, but it is just a bit of a shame when you hear about that. And just another reason why, if you're a basketball player, play some basketball.
Well, yeah, shut up and dribble. I couldn't have said it better myself, Sean.
I think these are two instances where you're allowed to say shut up and dribble. As opposed to the usual situation, which is quite horrible.
Yes.
Should we take a little bit of a break before we move into the second half of the pod?
I'd love to take a break.
The deep two. God, that's a mouthful. Anyways, I'm Marco, co-host of the Hey, Daniel Gafford, what's the name of our podcast?
The JVG NBA Tribute Show.
Wow, I can't believe it's that easy. Thanks, Gaff. You probably know us as two members of the Four Man Weave plus Marco, but we know you as our next listener.
Well said, Lucas. I gotta ask, how do we differ from the pack of basketball podcasts?
It's a great question, Marco. You see, on our basketball podcast, we have two male co-hosts.
Wow, truly groundbreaking. After this episode, stay on your favourite podcasting app and give us a spin.
Alright, and we are back. And we're talking about trade season.
I hate trade season.
Jeez. Transactions fucking suck. Speaking of transactions, can't wait till someone signs Isaiah Thomas from the G League.
Oh, well,
42 points in his G League debut today.
Man. I was actually thinking of a bit today, and like, I'll give it out.
You're thinking of a bit? Whoa, that is unheard
I'll
of.
send it out half-baked, but it goes something like this.
Okay, hold on. Alright, I'm ready now.
Man, get that square bracket injury-riddled player that probably doesn't fit in the NBA past 30 because of his body and is just nowhere near the heights that he once was. Guy on that roster, he's still got a shot in the league.
Whoa, basketball Instagram, is that you? Basketball Instagram, I know I apologised to you like 3 weeks ago, but after that comment, I'm rescinding my apology.
By the way, Denver said, hey, he's playing for the Grand Rapids Gold, but he's definitely not playing for the Nuggets, which is like, I really like the fact that they stopped it right at the Basketball Forever page.
The injury-riddled guard-needy Nuggets are like, no.
They would rather Devon Reed than Isaiah Thomas, which probably says something.
Former Phoenix Sun, Devon Reed.
Good on him. So former Indiana Pacer. You know how old he is now?
What that says? What, like 25?
Yeah. I was like, oh, who's this dude? Like,
I think he's one of. I think he's one of these older second round picks. He didn't really play much for us. Yeah. Anyway, it's trade season because as of 15th of December, which is today in America, because America is a day behind us. Most of the league can now be traded. Something like 85% of the league is now available to be traded, whereas previously it was like 60% because all the players who signed free agent deals in the summer, most of them anyway, the Brogdons and others excluded, can now be traded, which means that everyone's on the table, no one's off limits. It means let's talk. It means that palms are getting greased, shoulders are rubbing, elbows are rubbing, phones are ringing off the hook. So what we're going to do is just basically run through some of the hottest developments, rumours, what have you, a lot of which comes from The Athletic. So we'll kick things off with a report from everyone's favourite newsbreaker, Shams Charania of the aforementioned Athletic, which is about Jeremy Grant, which includes something that is absolutely a fucking lie, where he says dozens of teams call the Pistons each week about Jeremy Grant. No, they don't. No, they don't.
So at least 24 teams every 7 days.
24 of the 29 teams are calling them about Jeremy Grant every week.
Yeah.
I call bullshit.
Yeah, no, I reckon you might be right on that.
Shams, your credibility is eroding.
But what are they calling about when it comes to Jeremy Grant?
No,
finish the report. You didn't read the headline.
Plenty of interest. What do you mean?
Okay, cool.
I see what you're doing. That was not your best word.
All right. What do you reckon about this? So Shams mentioned the Lakers and the Trailblazers as two of the more prominent teams. Two of the more prominent out of 24.
Let's just fucking pump the brakes on Lakers trade talk until we get to the next headline. But on Lakers trading for someone of, what are you trading?
They can get like KCP, Kuzma, and Harrell makes a maximum. So like maybe two of them.
Oh my god! What do you literally though? Like they have no one to
Taylor
even.
Horton.
They literally don't even have anyone to like make the numbers work.
Yeah. Well, no, I think the theory here, which is we'll talk about it later, but the Lakers fielding internal discussions about a Russell Westbrook trade. It would be Detroit taking on Russell Westbrook. That's the trade.
Is everyone in the Lakers office doing meth?
Well, they've been doing it for a while.
Well, at least it was like defensible meth, where you could kind of say, yeah, this is a bit crazy. We're definitely cooking it up here, but sure, let's get big. We want a championship getting big with these goon centers. Like, let's just run that back. Yeah, let's go for star power. Like, you've been able to defend it, but like this is just like you have no assets.
Yeah.
You have no first round picks. You have no players that anybody else wants. And you're trying to get rid of the worst contract in the league. And you're trying to get like a fringe all-star level player.
Yeah. Who's getting paid as if he's an MVP.
What the fuck?
All right, so back to Jeremy Grant. He's eligible this offseason. He's eligible for a 4-year extension on his current deal, which will expire at the end of the following season, and he can sign up to as much as $112 million, obviously because he's not an All-NBA, All-Star, or MVP. So, like, it's a bit of an inflection point for Detroit because Troy Weaver's done the right thing here. He's paid this guy. He's brought in Jeremy Grant, who everyone's like, what are you doing that for? He had like an MIP worthy season. Like, he didn't win it and he wasn't going to win it, but he's in the conversation and he's proven that he's more than what he was. Maybe the best time to trade him would have been last off-season when he was shooting like 70% from the floor. But hey, that's in the past now. So you're looking at it like, what do you do if you're Detroit? Because if you don't trade him, he's going to turn around and say, hey, money, I would like some money. I've committed to being in Detroit. Why don't you just give me that money? But if you're Detroit, where you're trying to build up a team, why would you just commit $100 million to a guy who is 28 years old right now, and by the time Cade Cunningham is ready to be an MVP, if he can be that, it's going to be you're wasting money on a 32-year-old Jeremy Grant whose best skill isn't something that doesn't rely on athleticism. I don't know why I just had 2 negative quantifiers in that sentence. So it's like Detroit should have done this last year, and they've sort of done the right thing here. By you wonder where this report's coming from. Like, is this report leaked to Shams from the Lakers or Portland, or was this report leaked from Detroit, or was it leaked from Jeremy's agent, right? And Jeremy has done nothing but say he wants to be in Detroit, and he actually mentioned the last trade deadline that one of the reasons he hasn't requested a trade and doesn't want to trade is because he wanted to go to Detroit. He wanted to go to a team with a African-American coach, African-American lead basketball decision maker, and just be, Black Lives Matter, wanted to be a part of that organization because he liked where they were going. So has he just done a full 180 and said, hey, I want to get a trade, let's try and get some buzz around me? And all this conversation is great, but he tore a ligament in his finger and he's out for 4 to 6 weeks from now. So it's like, if you are Portland and you want to bring him in and maybe go for a run right now because you're 11-14 or whatever, 11-15, he's not going to be there. You're going to give up something and he's not going to be there for 4 to 6 weeks. And who knows what he's going to look like when he gets back because he hasn't actually been that elite so far. So it's freaking messy, Dante.
Well, I mean, the Blazers aren't going to get him because if there is as much interest as Sham seems to believe there is, which there's not, then they absolutely can't offer a package that's even remotely, appealing to what other teams potentially could offer. And I don't mean to say that there's not interest because I think that every contender should be looking at adding someone like Jeremy Grant. The problem is the reason why he took the money and why he went to Detroit is because he wanted the bigger role. He's got the bigger role. He's like the 1A or the 1B on Detroit now. Yeah. He was the undisputed 1A last year. If he's going to go to a contender, which is probably, outside of a Kings or a Blazers kind of mid-tier team trying to make a run for the play-in or whatever, he's probably going to get traded to a contender, but he's not going to get traded to a contender as like a ball dominant wing who's going to take 18 shots a game like it does in Detroit. He's getting traded as Denver Jeremy Grant, who's going to
ironic, isn't it? That
he
wanted to leave.
It is ironic, and I think that if he does want to go play like winning basketball, that's the cost.
Mm.
He obviously is a better player than he was, and he's shown more in his locker than he did in Denver. So he's not going to go back and average 8 points a game like he did for the Nuggets or whatever.
Yeah.
But he's certainly not going to be the featured player like he is in Detroit. He's not going to have the license to just jack contested jumpers off the dribble, which he loves to do.
Yeah.
He's going to have to streamline his role. Whether he wants to do that, leaving the ecosystem that he, decided that he wanted to come to and that has let him flourish, I don't know. So maybe he doesn't actually want to do it. If he does, he's exactly the sort of player that teams would want, and Detroit should trade him because they're going to get a haul for him. Robert Covington got 2 first-round picks 2 seasons ago.
Yeah.
Jeremy Grant is a better player now than Robert Covington has ever been, and they could easily get 2 first-round picks from a mid-level contender who's still got first-round picks, or you get a pick in like a young player. There's definitely like assets to be had here because lots of teams would want this dude.
Maybe 2 first-round picks this time last year, but maybe not this year. And I'll use that as a segue into the next piece of news, which we're going to talk about, is that coming from Jason Anderson of the Sacramento Bee, that the Kings are shopping Buddy Hield and Marvin Bagley III in trade. And that the main report here was that, yes, they've been shopping Buddy Hield for a couple of years now, but it is a deal that connects him to Marvin Bagley. Would you trade, if you're either team, would you trade Jeremy Grant for Marvin Bagley, Buddy Hield, and a first-round pick?
No, because Marvin Bagley is not an asset, and any team that trades for Marvin Bagley is opting out of, they're not offering him the qualifying offer, because his qualifying offer would be like $11 million.
Yeah.
So Marvin Bagley's going to be an unrestricted free agent at the end of this season, regardless of whether
you get him on a make good minimum.
Yeah, you get him on a minimum and you say, all right, if you've got anything, prove it. Buddy Hield is a negative asset at this point, especially for a team like Detroit. Maybe you're like, we brought Kelly Olynyk in so that they can space the floor for our young guards.
Because Sadiq Bey is not doing it.
Yeah. No, he's not. Maybe they're like Buddy Hield is, like now he's like the guard version of that. Like, maybe Cade will look better, Killian Hayes will look better playing
Passing
next to
to a
someone
good
who can
shooter.
shoot. More space. Like you get the assist because it's not fucking, I don't know, Sadiq Bey, random bloke.
Saban Lee.
Yeah, random bloke just clanking.
Yeah.
But I mean, Buddy Hield is not. On that contract is not an asset. Marvin Bagley is not an asset whatsoever. So I think Bagley's only getting traded in like a salary dump kind of situation, to a team that deliberately wants to clear cap space.
Yeah.
Which, in that instance, it's like, well, Bagley's cap hold is like something like 12 or 13 this year. You traded someone who's of equal value, and then you trade them to that team. You trade them to the Kings, you get Bagley in return, and the next season you don't offer Bagley the qualifying offer, so that $13 million, $11 million is just gone. You've opened that up. Detroit doesn't need to do that. There's no point in Detroit opening up cap space.
Yeah.
Especially if Jeremy Grant goes.
Yeah.
Because you're going to have that cap space. You're also not going to use it on anyone that you need to have $25 million for. So I would not be exploring that if I was...
A little bit cheeky from good friend of the pod, Monty McNair there, having his cake and eating it too.
Jeez, the fountain.
The
absolute fountain.
Let's move on to another piece of news coming from Jake Fisher of Bleach Report that the Los Angeles Lakers have held internal discussions on a Russell Westbrook trade. This is bad news for people hoping that the Westbrook situation is going to turn around. It's good news for people who didn't think it was ever going to turn around, and it's just yucky. Like the funny thing about this article is that Jake sort of tries to go into trades and then pretty much just says, hey, it's actually really hard to make a trade here because, he's getting paid $45 million a year. He's not worth that much money. It's getting very tricky. He does float the idea of one trade, saying that the salaries of Kevin Love and Ricky Rubio with the Cleveland Cavaliers would match for Westbrook. And kindly puts it by saying that, quote, that structure is of little interest to the Cleveland and hasn't been discussed. Maybe because Cleveland is winning basketball games at the moment. And Kevin Love actually doing a nice job being like the first big off the bench for a team that is rich with bigs, which is actually like, you know, a nice little redemption arc. Hey, but he's not worth $30 million.
And he's been getting up. Kevin Love's been getting up and about. Like, he's probably going to pop an Achilles from how much he's been dancing on the bench today. Ricky Rubio did that. You know, he scored like a 6 shot and then got a steal and then like a behind the back pass to, I don't know who scored the layup. Ed Davis. Behind the back pass to Ed Davis just as time expired on the quarter.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, it's like a 4-point swing with a you know, like a steal from Ricky Rubio in like 5 seconds. And Kevin Love came over and pushed him so hard. I thought Ricky Rubio was going to fucking die.
It's good to see him fitting in once again.
Yeah, don't fit out, Kevin. There's literally just no fucking way. Like you could name anyone for Russell Westbrook. There's literally no fucking way. It says everything about Russell Westbrook that the guy he was most recently traded for has played like 10 games for the team that traded for him.
Yeah.
That Houston literally just wanted to get rid of him so badly. They were like, fuck it, we'll take someone else's stinking garbage.
Yeah.
And, you know, like his contract is not appreciably better than Wall's. Like, yes, at least he's playing. We don't really know what level Wall would be playing at if he was playing right now. Despite Sham's desperate attempts to tell us otherwise in an absolutely fucking transparent athletic column a few weeks ago, that was literally like, here, John Wall, take the pen and you can write it. It was like, John Wall can be an asset to this team. He wants to play.
He will start if he does play. Well, also despite me trying to say, hold on, Dante, John Wall and Bradley Beal or something there 2 years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, not to be. But Russell Westbrook, how do you trade him?
You just can't, because there's not literally he's it's the sort of contracts where if it was smaller, like say it was like 20 million and it was actually tradable, you could get 2 10 million contracts, or you could trade it for another 20 million.
Buddy Hield.
Yeah, exactly. That's the sort of contract that you need to sweeten.
Yeah.
You need to sweeten that contract to get rid of it. It's not 20 million. It's more than double 20 million. It's 45 million. So you need to potentially sweeten it twice as much. The only problem is the Lakers don't have any assets. They don't have... I think they've got 1 pick that they can trade out. They're not trading it to get rid of Russell Westbrook. That's just not palatable. You can't...
Like a pick, Austin Reeves and Taylor Horton-Tucker.
Yeah, but Austin Reeves isn't an asset, and Taylor Horton-Tucker is shooting like 30%. So, you know, it's like, you know... Forgive me. It's literally just not possible to trade him for anything good. And I think it's laughable that their name is being thrown out there. Like, they're interested in Jeremy Grant. And like, with what? Like, none of the players on their bench, even the guys who are earning the minimum, or like Kendrick Nunn on $5 million, it's like Trevor Reeves and Malik Monk, Avery Bradley. None of these guys are any better than the 10th man on any other team's bench. Like, Malik Monk is as good as every other team's 10th man.
There's a reason he's in minimum.
There's no value to be had there outside of players that are actually valuable, which they're not going to get rid of, which unfortunately is LeBron and AD, and that's about it.
Yeah.
So this is the upshot of when you trade for Russell Westbrook and you build your team around Russell Westbrook and then you start shooting 30% on threes. This is what you get.
If the Washington Wizards never make the playoffs for the next 5 years, I still might look back when we're doing this pod 5 years from now and say that the Russell Westbrook for KCP, Harrell and Kuzma deal might be the best deal of the past decade.
In terms of looking at like a series of moves over a few seasons by a GM, turning that John Wall contract into what they have now in Washington, Tommy Shepard, that's probably one of the best. Like, for someone who was kind of not really thought of as even remotely a good GM whatsoever, turning John Wall's contract into Russell Westbrook and then Russell Westbrook into like, you know, like several rotation pieces plus a pick for like what's going to be what looks to be a playoff team. That's some real fucking general managing. I mean, like we'll see what happens. And you know, the conversation in the last 3 weeks has been like Westbrook's shooting better, he's playing better.
Yeah.
Is this going to be, are we going to see him rampaging like we saw 2 years ago with Houston? And it's like, well, yes, maybe we will. But I would just like to bring up something that I brought up maybe 6 weeks ago, like when the season started, is that Even if he comes back rampaging and averages 29 points for the rest of the season, and it's like, whoa, it's like Houston Russ from 2 years ago. That's crazy. In the playoffs, LeBron's going to have the ball when it matters, and he just hasn't proven that he can be effective without the ball ever in his career, literally ever in his career, because he's never been a good cutter, he's never been a good shooter. So he hasn't done it when he was 21, 25, 27, 30. He's not doing it now when he's 33.
Yeah.
It's probably a pretty tall order to say that he's going to figure out his niche between now and then. That means that, like, with 4 minutes left in a playoff game, LeBron's got the ball, AD's on the court. Like, what's he doing?
Yeah.
Because he's not going to get to have the... LeBron's not going to give him the controls with 4 minutes left. And it's like, well, you're just kind of... Yeah, you'd rather have KCP out there in the last 4 minutes, because at least you know he's going to... Yeah, well, at least you know he's going to hit the three and he's going to play some good D on the other end. Like, It is seriously hard to envision them having like a deep playoff run, if they even get there, with him on the team, regardless of how he looks in the regular season, just because of the fundamental issues that his presence poses. And that's even outside of the contract, which, I feel like, if he listens to this podcast, he's going to be really upset with everything I said about him. Ripped into him a little bit. But like... Yeah. On the Lakers front, it's like, this is, you made your bet. This is what it is.
Yeah.
This is what everybody said immediately when you made the trade.
Yeah. So
you kind of knew what you were getting into, and if you didn't, you should be everyone should be fired.
Yeah. All right. Well, you've summed up everything I wanted to say as well. Well, let's move on to something that is sort of out of left field, which is that the Brooklyn Nets are willing to discuss Joe Harrison trades. Coming from that same report from Jake Fisher of Bleacher Report, and he actually got a quote from a rival GM that says, quote, "It's crazy to me, he's their only real 3-and-D player, but his name keeps popping up," which is like, yeah, you make a good point. He's been injured and he's had the playoff struggles in the past, and by playoff struggles I mean he doesn't make shots in the playoffs whatsoever. But like, what are you going to get for a Joe Harris trade that is any better than what they have right now? Like, if they didn't have Patty Mills and you're going to tell me they were going to trade for Patty Mills, it's like, okay, maybe that's better. But for that, $10 million slot, $11 million... Harris. 18. Is it? We'll get Jamie, pull it up for us. But how do you upgrade? Like, you've got James Harden and Kevin Durant on the same basketball team. You've already got an ideal point guard in Curry. You've already got an ideal point guard in Patty Mills, who's just going to space the floor and take shots. How much are you getting paid?
17 this year. Average annual value 18.7.
Yeah, you win. But how do you upgrade that slot?
Well, I think that you don't. I think you potentially don't upgrade it on a player for player trade, but because he's got an almost $20 million cap hold, can you trade him for 2 players?
What do you want?
Well, because they're so thin, right? Like outside of the big three, whatever the fuck that's worth this season. I mean, for what it's worth, they actually still are first.
It's a very good team. Yeah.
But is that an indicator of the East or them? The East obviously has been better this year. I don't mean to poo-poo the East, but they still obviously have what issues. Well, because here's their other options on the wing. It's rookie Cam Thomas. It's Bruce Brown, who's not, he's a big for this team. He's not a wing. Yeah. James Johnson, and then that's literally it. Like, you got fucking David Duke Jr., not that David Duke. Deontay Bembry, Kessler Edwards, nobody. So hypothetically, what if you turn, I'm just going to throw out 2 players who are from different teams, so it's not a trade. It's not a trade idea at all. But what if you turn Joe Harris into Doug McDermott and Justin Holiday?
Oh,
something like that though, where you're trading. Let's say as a role player, Joe Harris is an 8 out of 10. You're trading for 2 7s, and you just get.
I would say even worse than a 7.
But you know what I mean, though.
Yeah,
I'm on the spot here.
I don't think that trade exists. Like let's say.
Doesn't it though?
Let's say the Spurs. You give up Doug McDermott. Throw in one of their young guys, or there's no one else there. I don't think there are 2 7s. And who's doing it for Joe Harris though? There's no.
Well, I mean, there's plenty of playoff teams.
There's no upside for Joe Harris.
Well, the upside for Joe Harris is that outside of what we've seen repeatedly in the playoffs, pretending that doesn't exist. He's one of the best shooters in the league. We know that. That's been proven over the course of his career.
Yeah.
I'm struggling to think of a destination for that trade, but I have to imagine that's the rationale, though. Yes, Sean.
What if it's Dwight Powell and Dorian Finney-Smith? Would you do that?
I don't think I would for Dwight Powell, simply because you don't need another 4.
Maxi Kleber instead.
Well, again, same problem. I mean, like Maxi, I guess, can play some 3, but
He can play some 5.
well,
But like,
I just don't know with all the old dudes they have fucking
but
clogging
did
roster
Dallas
spots.
want to do that? Did Dallas want to do that trade?
Oh, Dorian Finney-Smith's really fucking good.
Yeah.
And he's now, I don't, I'll look up his numbers, but he's got to be hitting like 37-38% from
For
3.
a
And
team
he's
where everyone's
genuinely-
shooting worse.
Dorian Finney-Smith is we've been talking about, like, the last couple of weeks, blokes quietly putting together an all-defensive case. Dorian Finney-Smith this year is quietly putting together an all-defensive case. 38% from 3. He's averaging 9 points per game. So he's not like fucking... Yeah, but he's fully developed into a lockdown defender. He's really good.
Yeah.
What about... I think you probably want to talk about this team in a little bit, but what about, again, I'm not saying that, like, Atlanta would do this necessarily, but what if it was like Cam Reddish and Kevin Huerter? Something like that, where you diversify your skill sets a little bit on the wing, you get extra bodies. That means that instead of it being round 1 and you're playing a 7-man rotation, you can play an 8-man rotation.
Yeah.
It just means that you have an extra NBA player out there and you're not relying on a rookie Cam Thomas or a rookie fucking whoever, or an old man whoever, like John J. Bembry, with like a career fucking... John J. Bembry, what number does his field goal percentage start with? Don't tell me. I don't want to know. I think that has to be the rationale in terms of trading Harris, right? Because otherwise, what are you getting? Surely they're not looking at a player-for-player trade.
Yeah, but if you're truly worried about depth, like, Brooklyn's going to be the first name that comes up when it comes to a buyout. Like, if Mo Harkless gets bought out,
Yeah, but does that solve the problem, though?
Well, then if you want to trade an 8 out of 10 for 2 7s or 2 6s, Mo Harkless is like a 4 or a 5 out of 10, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So does like a 4 and an 8 beat a 7 and a 7? Like, the hypothetical's gone too far, but like, they're going to get a buyout person, whoever it is.
Yeah, but I mean, like Blake Griffin, LaMarcus Aldridge, Paul Millsap, that's the quality of buyout player. And LaMarcus Aldridge is, fucking having like a decent season.
And he keeps sooking to his PR company.
I'm fucking a bit over it, to be honest. Thank God we only got Tyson Chandler in 2016.
Oh, dude, I thought he retired. I was like, we're done with this, but no, now he's back and he wants to start.
The quality, you
Congratulations on healing your heart, Lamarcus. Please tell me how to do it.
You can't predict necessarily who's going to be on the buyout market, 3 or 4 months ahead of time. But you're not going to get someone as good as Kevin Huerter on the buyout market or Doug McDermott on the buyout market. These are dudes who... Doug McDermott just got paid $13 million a year. Kevin Huerter is going to get paid some money, whether it's Atlanta or not, after this season.
Yeah.
The players on the buyout market are just not worth the money. So you're not going to get like an amazing, maybe you will. Maybe you get lucky and it's like fucking, like the Warriors or like the Sixers a couple of years ago with Bellinelli and Ilyasova, where it just like all fits. Maybe, but probably not.
Yeah.
So you have to turn to the trademark, and this is another team that has no assets.
Yeah.
Joe Harris, I think teams would look at him potentially as an asset. It's difficult to gauge what kind of asset they'd be willing to give up in return. But the reason why I keep thinking like a 2-for-1 trade is just because I can't imagine that they're just like not happy with Joe Harris and they're like, they're like, we got to get rid of this guy. We got to get what we can back. I mean, he's shooting 46% from 3 this season.
Yeah.
So what do you want him to do if not that? Like, his numbers across the board are a little bit down, but 46% is fucking not down.
Yeah.
You know what his career 3-point shooting percentage is?
What was it start with?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what it fucking starts. It almost starts with a 5. It's 44. So that's why you pay $17-18 million.
Yeah.
He's doing exactly what you need, and
He's just injured.
Well,
And that's fine.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I just think,
All right, how about this? Joe Harris, Cam Thomas, and a future first. I don't know if that has to be in like 2058 for Miles Turner.
For Miles Turner. Yeah, I guess. And I guess. And then who's playing on the wing? Literally no one.
DeAndre Bembry. But that's any hope for the buyout. Like, it's a shame Trevor Ariza signed already.
The corpse of Trevor.
Well, I mean, like, James Ennis is still a free agent. What the fuck are you laughing at? Yeah, it's hard to make
Is that
this
Melbourne
trade.
United's own James Ennis?
Yeah, maybe. But if you've got Joe Harris and you're paying him $17 million a year, he's one of those dudes getting paid on 17, which is like, you have him as like the most complimentary piece possible. No one's trading for him to hope that he develops into something else. It's sort of like, this is what you have. You've just got a supercharged Doug McDermott. You know what I mean? And it's like, there's no real trades out there. But one thing that came from that exact same report from Jake Fisher is that to sweeten the pot and to maybe get something better for Joe Harris is that the Brooklyn Nets are interested in throwing, and they have in the past thrown Nick Claxton in trades, and they've said that Nick Claxton is available. And like, if I'm any young team, I swoop in and I steal Nick Claxton because, like, yeah, you know, he's proven little to a medium amount of value on a team that is just stacked.
Well,
with
he's
talent.
also injured a lot.
He's also injured a lot, but he's also extremely young, and he's like played at one of the highest levels of basketball that you can, right? And he hasn't been great because he's extremely young and he's still on a rookie deal. But if you're a young player, I reckon you just swing for Nick Claxton, just hope that he's proven something, maybe he can prove even more. Maybe you've got like another Jarrett Allen sort of level thing going up right there. And you mentioned Cam Reddish before. If you were the Hawks, would you do Nick Claxton for Cam Reddish?
No, just because I think there's a bit of positional redundancy there. Because where does he fit into the front court between my two big minute centres?
Well,
unless you're looking at him,
Capella hasn't looked good this year.
Well,
He's actually looked bad.
well, I mean, next season you've got Okongwu coming back. So you
Okongwu's coming back this season.
is he coming back this season? I thought he was done for the year.
No, I don't think he's got a season-ending injury. I think it was just like really unfortunate that he like was out 4 to 6 weeks at the start of the year.
Well, he's got the TJ Warren 4 to 6 weeks, or the
May he rest in peace.
or the fucking 4 to 6 weeks, the 330 pounder.
Oh wait, we're not allowed to say Zion Williamson.
No, well, fucking yeah. Call me when he's back in the court, bro.
Oh,
Call me when he's back in the court. No. Okay, yeah. So it looks like he will be coming back. There's no timeline yet, but it looks like Okongwu will be coming back. I don't think that with Collins locked up, Capella's still there on big money, and Okongwu, your like player of the your 5 of the future, that like trading for Claxton makes heaps of sense because Claxton's probably, although he's like a bit more versatile, can like move his feet a little bit. Offensively, he's a 5.
yeah,
He's not a 4.
yeah,
So
which is good.
Which is fine, but it just means that you're not trading with someone who's like super versatile on both ends. You know, you're trading for a 5 who can defend out on the perimeter in space a little bit. And Cam Reddish is definitely having his best season of his career. So that would potentially, I think, be selling high on Cam Reddish for like a low return. Just quietly, when you Google Onyeka Okongwu, the first photo that comes up is Solomon Hill. Also, just quietly, it is Melbourne United's own James Ennis. He played 1 season in the NBL and he averaged 21 and 7. But when you Google James Ennis Melbourne, the first article that comes up is from 2004 titled James Ennis has denied throwing his NBL All-Star 5 trophy in Yarra after a dummy spit. And the first fucking paragraph is, he's denied throwing his NBL All-Star 5 trophy off a Melbourne pier on Wednesday night in a fit when Rodney Clark was named MVP. Ennis did admit to throwing something off the Docklands pier, but not the trophy, and then quotes him as saying, "My trophy's in my bag. I threw a water bottle into the water. I have the trophy in my bag and I'm going to give it to my mum when I get home." And then the next fucking line, in just an absolutely, fuck the Herald Sun, well and truly, but this is pretty good journalism. The next line is, "However, when asked to produce the trophy, Ennis declined."
Dude, that article's a tweet. Like that's less than like 240 characters.
2014 was a different time.
Can I just say, more fake trades for Joe Harris because, like, I want to get this moving. Joe Harris for Marcus Smart and take your pick of Romeo Langford and the other guy. What's the other one's name? Aaron
Naismith. Yeah. Well, I mean, I'm hands off on that one because predicting what's going on in Boston is anyone's anyone's business. I just feel like if Marcus Smart was getting traded, it wouldn't be for Joe Harris. It'd be for someone who's.
I just think because I don't know if you listened to the most recent Bill Simmons pod with
Nah.
Who's that lady he has on all the time? The Boston lady.
Don't know. I didn't listen to it.
No, but you'll used to,
I haven't listened to the Simmons pod properly for like probably 18 months.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe an episode here and there when KFC's on. Who's the Boston lady?
Oh, he always has her on.
Doris Burke.
I'm full blanking on her. Let me just give me a minute. Anyway, so she came on, and then they're always just talking about Jackie McMullen. Isn't she?
Lakers anyway.
But she's just going on about chemistry issues and saying how Ime Udoka just looks like really uneasy on the sidelines, like something needs to happen. And it's like, I'm gonna, just as you're keeping a tab on James Harden catching Steph Curry for some absurd reason, I just want to keep a tab on the fact that every time the Celtics have an issue over the past 5 years and moving forwards, every single time there's always a quote from Marcus Smart. It's never Al Horford being like, oh man, they fucked up this time, we had to call a meeting. Or Jason Tatum being like, just guys being dudes, we punched it out, It's always Marcus Smart saying we needed to do this.
Is Marcus Smart in some ways like the spiritual successor of the last championship team in Boston? I mean like
yeah.
he kind of more cut from like the Rondo, KG, Paul Pierce cloth, right?
3 alphas.
No, that's the Bulls. It's the Jimmy Butler, Wade, Rondo Bulls. How did that work out? Marcus Smart, stylistically and in terms of his mentality, is like almost like a holdover from that like previous regime. And now that we have reasonably close to like a fully actualized version of Tatum and Brown, they're no longer like the young players, and it's like a transitional.
You can't
period
excuse
for
them for that.
well, I mean, like now they're like ready, in theory, ready to be like the team leaders in their own right. Yeah. Marcus Smart, potentially, you're right. Maybe he's grading a little bit on the team. Maybe he's like, baggage from like an earlier iteration of the team that needs to be cut loose, but. All the stuff you've ever heard is like heart and soul of the team, like could never do it without him. Yeah. And I just feel like if he was going to get traded, like you would have to be for someone better than Joe Harris. Or as part of a package for someone who's better than Joe Harris. Like you trade him, like you said, him, couple picks, young guys or whatever, and you get like someone good.
Yeah, I'm just wondering.
Not that Joe Harris isn't good, but you know what I mean. You get like a great starter.
Yeah, like
a fringe all-star.
Prime Kemba sort of.
I was thinking like you get like a Gordon Hayward type.
Okay. That's funny, we went the same way. I'm just saying, just keep a tab on it that every single time the Celtics have issues, Marcus Smart is front and center. And whether that be because he's a leader and because he's an alpha on the team, or you just never really hear bad things about anyone else. And is it really worth it at some point? Do you want to move on to that? I've got a really good segue, Dante, if you don't want to add any more.
I think I know where this segue is going, but you hit it.
Okay, cool. I'll just keep going. So, coming from Shams Charania of The Athletic, the Boston Celtics, we were just talking about them.
That's crazy.
We'll consider trades for Dennis Schroeder, who is currently on a 1-year, $5.9 million deal. You want to know something really cool? I didn't even Google that. I just knew that he was on $5.9 mil, because I feel like everyone for the rest of his life is going to know what Schroeder's on because of what he could have been on.
He's a proud member of the Victor Oladipo. He fucked it.
All right, so... Reading between the lines here with this report, I've just written this quote, which is right in between the lines. You can almost see it if you turn your brightness all the way down, which is, quote, we don't want to pay him any more than this because it'll be too hard to ask him to take a discount with the exact same team because multiple teams have asked him to take a discount and he didn't want to take it. Dennis Schroeder is doing the exact same thing he's done for the past 4 years. It's just not very good. It's just replacement level.
No, but I think to be honest, I think that's a basic take because Dennis Schroeder is doing the exact same thing that he's done all this time. It's just that what he's doing is actually worth more like $13 million than it is $6 million. And he's going to get paid $13 million next season. He might even get paid $15 million next season. And Boston can't afford to pay him that because Al Horford, the 2Js, Marcus Smart, there's some fucking contracts there. They can't pay an average point guard above average money, which is what Schroeder's going to get.
Do you want to bet a picnic on this? I don't reckon he's going to get above.
Let's
average
say
money.
12. Let's say the number is 12. I think
I'd
he's
still
gonna-
go under.
Okay, well let's bet a block of Pico Organic mint chocolate on it because obviously
Okay.
I can't do the picnics anymore.
All right. Is Pico Organic like picnic but veggie version?
No, it's just like these little. It's like just like these little like chocolate blocks, and they do some the hazelnut and the mint ones in particular.
What about
really
a
good.
choc carib bear? I like them.
A choc what?
The carib bear, little bear of like fake chocolate, but real chocolate.
Yeah, right.
Just no dairy.
No,
You haven't had one?
No, never had one.
Okay, I'll get you one regardless of the outcome of this bet.
These are good. I think that he's gonna get more money because he's an average starting point guard. He'd be a great backup point guard. We saw how good he was 2 seasons ago when he was the third guard. Oh my god, he was amazing. He was efficient. He was getting good shots. He was making,
But he's efficient at scoring, and he does all that, and he's awesome if he's behind SGA and Chris Paul, right?
Yeah.
But like, look at the best backup guards in the whole entire league.
Campaign.
Like Lou Williams for his whole prime couldn't get more than $8 million a year, and you think someone's gonna pay more than what they have in the past for any backup
Shooter was
guard?
going to get paid $80 million.
But
Teams
like,
are ready
to be fair,
that was ready to go.
To be fair, the Lakers actually denied that report.
And we believe the Lakers when they say things?
No, we don't. But like, we haven't seen it because he was going to get paid as a starter. So if some team looks at him and goes, "All right, he'll be awesome right behind," like maybe he can like be the you can sign him, like Phoenix could sign him. I don't reckon anyone's going to pay him $12 million a year because like the teams that have cap space don't need him, right? No one needs him at the moment, and the teams that might have like more than the mid-level exception that want to compete don't really have room for a guy to like come in and maybe stuff it up.
Well, I guess the teams that then target him are teams that feel like they have a tight ecosystem, like the Thunder did a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
Where there's a hierarchy and you're not asking him to do too much. Whereas in LA, they were basically like, hey, when LeBron's off the floor and we're playing with 2 centers and
Try to do something.
Yeah, like how about you run the offense? And he didn't do a very good job.
No.
Fair. Now he's their starting point guard in Boston, and they're saying be the starting point guard. He's averaging 17 and 5. Counting stats are fine. I agree that his impact has been minimal, and I think yes he is an average starting guard. But if he's your third guard or he's your second guard, but you play with a couple of ball dominant wings, like he could be he could be great. Like
say Atlanta next season as an
Okay.
example instead of Kevin Herter.
Well, how about this? Like, could he be like Reggie Jackson? And how much did Reggie Jackson get paid? $11 million.
So I'd still win the bet.
Well, it's in the ballpark.
I think Reggie Jackson's different because Reggie Jackson is great when the ball's not in his hands as well. He hits shots off the dribble, but he also hits catch and
Well,
shoot.
he didn't always.
Which is good. And now in this Clippers iteration, he's good when you've got 2 ball dominant guys in Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. Reggie Jackson is fine handling the ball when they're not on the court, but he's also fine not handling the ball because he can just space out and he'll catch and shoot. Dennis Schroeder doesn't have that ability unless he's the go-to guy, and he hasn't actually led an efficient offense.
But you're not asking him to lead.
I know.
You're not going to ask him to lead anything ever again, and you're just going to say $12 million is fine to pay for, like a second or third guard.
Yeah. Who's done that? Like,
I don't know.
What's Campaign on? 3 for 19?
Well, Campaign's an outlier because Campaign, I would be confident saying Campaign took a well below market deal. It is a 3 for 19, but took a well below market value deal. In part because he really likes the organisation and they invested in him, and in part because he was almost out of the fucking league.
So you can just
a year before he signed the deal, he's in China. So
yeah, all right. So
you put 19 million in front of Campaign. He says, "I'll lock that up right now." You put that money in front of Schroeder. He says, "I had 100 million on the table. I had 80 million on the table."
So the best backup point guard in the whole entire league, right? Let me just actually give me a second.
Phoenix Suns legend Rick Rubio.
So one of the best backup point guards in the whole entire league, Sean Livingston, prime career 3 for 23. The best backup point guard in the whole entire league right now.
Sean Livingston's contracts were in an era that's not comparable.
All right.
You can't
Okay,
take
okay.
2014 backup point guard contracts and say like it's
Okay. The best backup point guard in the league right now is Monty Morris, and he's getting paid $9 million a year.
Monty Morris is getting paid $9 million a year on a long-term deal though.
And what do you want?
Maybe
Schroeder wants a 1 year 13.
Maybe you
because
give him-
Dante said so.
maybe you give him
Who the fuck are you?
Maybe you give him 225.
225.
I don't know.
I will.
I think someone's gonna do it.
I won't
think
believe it
someone is
because I
gonna do
won't
it.
see it.
I think someone is gonna do it.
It'd have to, like who's doing it? Like when Atlanta waives Danilo Gallinari, they're going to have less than $20 million to throw at someone. Hey, maybe they can trade for Joe Harris. Like they're a semi-contending team will do it. Like none of these bad teams are going to get him as a reclamation project because he's 29. Like there's no one out there who's got that amount of money. It's just he's just going to have to keep going between Boston's at $5 million because people have holes at the guard position.
He's gonna get paid way more than $6
Alright,
million.
I think we've hung on this for too long.
we really have.
Let's move on to the final piece of trade news, which actually came out a week and a half ago, but it's not actually just a week ago. But I actually did this. What are we doing for time?
No, we're fine.
We're fine. I actually did this trade on NBA 2K and enjoyed the fuck out of it. Before
Who were you playing
Before
against?
I didn't. I was playing as Cleveland.
Interesting.
And I made a trade based around Karis LeVert for Colin Sexton for multiple reasons. And then there was a report the following day from Chris Fedor of Cleveland.com, which says that, quote, multiple members of the Cavs organization are reportedly fans of Karis LeVert. And this would be...
Welcome to the club. Welcome to the club, multiple members of the Cavs organization.
Sometimes I just sit there and I just think, and I actually get like... You know how I've told you about that guy that I don't like the referee at Coburg, who I'll just sit there and think of him and my blood will just boil and I'll just get
Which
hot
one is
flushes. I don't know his name, but
There's
some bad ones.
I filled in for your team the other night, and both refs are genuinely terrible.
Were they like? Did he have a neck beard?
Yeah.
Yeah. So him and his brother.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about.
Oh,
yeah.
they could do with a little bit of a change.
It was the younger one who was refereeing.
The young one's better, but the older one is
the older one used to ref me when I was a junior there.
He's got a power trip in it.
Can I ask you a question?
Of course. It's your podcast as much as mine.
If it's a fast break situation and the offensive player is running with the ball and he runs past all the defenders and then the last defender hacks him from behind.
He's had a clear path.
Is that a clear path out?
Nah, not if you're at the rim. Are you at the rim?
Not yet.
So you're like...
I was probably between the free throw line and I was clearly going to the rim.
Yeah.
And he just grabbed me.
So he didn't call you?
No, he called it a
Regular.
He called it a foul. Not only not a shooting foul, but he called it a foul on the floor.
So that exact same ref, now I agree with you, that's a bad call, right? That exact same ref, we were down by 1 point, right? We're down by 1 point. There's 40 seconds left on the clock, and they've got the ball. We had just made a shot to make it 1 point. And we're like, okay, we need the ball. So then my friend, Tom, shout out if you're listening, cerebral player, understands what's going on in the court. He intentionally fouls and does this. Like, he just grabs the player with two hands. And, like, obviously no one can see what I'm doing, but I'm literally softly grabbing Dante.
It was gentle.
As soft as possible, he softly grabs Dante and looks at the ref and goes, I fouled him, can he please take free throws so we can get the ball back and maybe hit a 3 or hit a 2 to win the game? And he calls an unsportsmanlike contact on that exact foul.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't a play at the ball, so that team got 2 free throws and side, and we had 0% chance.
But that's not the rule, though. Like that's literally not the rule. Like I just don't understand that.
It's just a power trip for him.
I mean, like, what? So you'd rather make a serious play at the ball and like rake him across the arm?
Yeah.
I just slap his wrist.
Do you want him to come from behind?
I slap him on the wrist and he gets a red wrist versus anyway.
He's done the good thing there. Yeah, no.
Let's
get one of those instances a week.
Let's bring it back in. Karis LeVert for Colin Sexton.
Yeah, based around that, there would be no picks going either way. I think you might have to send a bit more money if you're Cavs to meet up with Indiana.
Definitely do.
So it would be Larry Markkinen.
No, there's no... Nah.
There's no...
The Cavs aren't doing that.
There's no other way to do it, though.
I don't know if the Cavs are sending out Lowry. Like, it's weird to say.
I know.
Could you not send out Cedi Osman?
Do you want to?
Well, I'd rather send out Jedi Osman than Lowry.
Yeah, but then like you're going to be crunched pretty soon. You're going to be pretty well locked into this team.
Jedi Osman's contract is about $8 million a year, which Sexton is probably at like $7 million a year.
Hey, why don't we find out for sure?
So that would get you in the ballpark for Levert.
But do you like the theory of the trade? So Indiana gets to look at Colin Sexton.
Yeah.
Probably cringes a little bit when they're looking at him. But then the other team, Cleveland Cavaliers, because like if I don't want to tell you this right now, but if Darius Garland gets injured, the Cavs might fall out of the playoff picture.
Yeah.
That's how important he is. So you get Karis LeVert, who can be that other ball handler.
Well, yeah, I mean, Karis LeVert, he hasn't been good this year. That is.
Sneaky hasn't been good.
That's the fundamental reality.
That's what I was saying about blood boiling with that ref.
Yeah.
I sit at home and I just think like Lucas Petridis from the JVG NBA tribute show, or as he likes to call the Jeff Van Gundy National Basketball Association tribute show, and you just like love him, you just fanboy of him because like yes, he looks cool and he does some cool shit, but he's not that good.
What are you talking about fanboying about Lucas?
No,
he looks cool, but he's not that good.
Fanboying about Karis LeVert.
No, he has been a bad.
Lucas backs it up on the court.
Does he ever? Karis has been a bad scorer, and he hasn't really shown the playmaking chops that you'd want, from a second ball handler. Okay, so this trade has gone through. It's Jedi Osman and Colin Sexton for Karis LeVert.
But NBA 2K has declined it because one of them's injured.
Yeah, damn.
So would the Cavs part with a pick to do that?
Nah, because I think Karis's value is as low as it's been in the last 2 years. Even even including the whole cancer stuff. Because at least the cancer stuff, the last time you saw him, he was fucking lighting it up for Brooklyn, playing your turn, my turn with Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, this guy really could be a great second option. And now he's just not really been a very good second,
player.
Third, or fourth option this year.
And
so
if the Pacers do want to bottom out and tank, I'll tell you a good way to do that.
I think the Cavs do it because you're not going to re-sign Colin Sexton to a big contract anyway. If Colin Sexton wants $20 million, the Cavs probably aren't going to give it to him.
Yeah.
I think for Colin Sexton, like it's not good for him that he's going to go to a team like the Pacers that's maybe trying to rebuild. He needs to, I feel like, go somewhere where he's got like a structured role and he's not like the guy like he had been in Cleveland, and he's not going to put up 22, 25 points a game on a shit team. Like maybe he puts up a really efficient 17 on a good team. Like
yeah,
I'm still, he was a bit rough to start the season, and obviously Garland is probably playing better now than what Sexton has holistically. Garland's not the scorer that Sexton is, but on the whole, is probably better for the Cavs now than what Sexton ever has been. So Sexton needs to go somewhere where he has like a defined role, where he can kind of channel those skills. It's not going to be in Cleveland. I think that's becoming pretty clear looking at how the Cavs are playing without him. And it's not going to be in a team like Indiana, because the Indiana's just going to say, yeah, well, someone needs to take 20 shots, so you take it.
He's going to be doing the same thing.
It's going to be doing the same thing. He's going to end up getting paid, $18 million, and he's going to not prove to be worth it. Like if he went and got paid $14 million to be someone's sixth man, and he's just like, Patty Mills on fucking roids, which is,
which is a fucking dangerous fever player.
Oh my god. Argentinians quake in their boots.
Slovenia's quaking in their boots, man.
I think the Cavs would definitely do this just because they probably would. Would they let him walk? Would they just?
What, like Colin Sexton walk?
Would they just let him walk? Would they Pontius Pilate and wash their hands?
No. I think what's a good saying for this, where it's like they've just become good and like they've just shown competence. Like don't let it go to your head. Like you still need to keep talent. Like whether that be just keep him as a trade asset. And
but
because he's torn his meniscus, no one's going to come in with an offer. Like Detroit's not paying him $20 million a year.
No. But that's why I say he'd be better on a team where someone, a good team that sees it and says, yeah, like let's get this guy and let's fucking slot him in. Colin, you're playing 28 a game. Colin, you're the fourth option on our team. Sometimes you'll get to play like you're the first option. Sometimes you need to defer to these two guys.
If all healthy, Joe Harris for Colin Sexton.
No, because I think he just is such a liability defensively for a team that needs like.
Yeah.
If not, Joe Harris isn't like an amazing defender, but at least he's like 6'7".
He's taller, yeah.
He's big. Like Colin Sexton is genuinely an abominable defender.
Yeah.
So that's the thing.
Especially if Kyrie does play, he's got two small guys.
And then it's just redundant skill sets. It's almost like the fucking Portland 3J, where it's like, well, do you really need someone who's a really effective 3-level scorer when you've got, in theory, 3 effective, fucking all NBA level effective 3-level scorers?
Yeah.
You don't.
All right, can you think of any Harris trades? I know we haven't prepped for this.
No, because he's such an unstable asset. He's such an unknowable asset at this point.
Do you see any of the tanking teams trying to get him and reinvigorating his value? Detroit,
no, because if you're tanking, like, what's the point? Like, Detroit's already got Jeremy Grant. Like, obviously he's injured at the moment, but if you're genuinely really bad and you're deliberately trying to be bad, like, what's the point? You can just Houston's not going to do it. OKC's not going to do it because they've got young guys who can just take those shots. Like Josh Giddey can take 14 shots if they want him to. Like Jalen Green can take all those shots. They don't need someone to come in and eat up the innings.
Yeah.
That's a cricket term for
That's
you.
a cricket term, thanks to
They don't need someone who's just going to hit singles and just take the shots.
They need David Warner.
They need someone who's going to go for 6. They need someone who's going to play Big Bash in a test. They got their Jalen Green's going for the Sixers. If he gets bowled for a golden duck, doesn't matter.
The aforementioned David Warner currently just hit his 50 and there's 1 for 86. So you're like new.
What's Marnus on?
26. So you're new to cricket, aren't you?
Yeah, I've got no idea about cricket.
So do you like watching the Big Bash?
I literally have never watched cricket before in my life.
Until today?
Until today, I probably watched about 35 minutes of cricket this afternoon, and that would probably be double the total amount of cricket I'd ever watched in my life before.
Okay.
So I'm sitting there on the couch asking Lawrence like all these questions. I was like, that's a dumb question.
Yeah.
And to his credit, I think he was just really excited that I was showing an interest. So he was really engaged and asked. But I was like,
I'm excited. Right
but I was like, what's a wide? Like, how do you tell what a wide is?
Yeah.
I was like, how does the when they do like the review and they do the simulation of like where the ball's going, like how does that work? Like asking all these fundamental
That's
nuts and bolts questions. So I've got no idea.
Well, you're in for a great series. This is going to be a great.
Well, I don't
cricket.
I don't actually know that I'm going to watch cricket again.
You should. It's so calming, and these twilight matches start at 3:30, end at 10. Yeah, they change into a fluoro pink ball, so you can see it at night time.
Fluoro, yeah, nice. Well, maybe on Sunday night I'll watch some cricket.
Well, how about when the 4-man weave and Marco go to the cricket on the 28th? You come with us.
Is everyone going?
Yeah.
Where was my invite?
Well, you missed the group chat, bro.
Yeah, that's
it was in the group chat, but Marco and I are keen.
That is pretty characteristic.
Friend of the pod, Alessio.
In the group chat.
A friend of the pod, Alessio, goes, ugh, fine, I like you guys. So tag along.
Yeah, I'll come.
Yeah.
Unless I'm working.
Well, don't work.
Public holiday money though.
28th.
Yeah.
What fucking public holidays?
We get like offset public holidays.
What, for the whole gap?
So Boxing Day is a public holiday, and then for the 24th and the 25th you get like offset ones.
Yeah.
So you get 26, 27, 28 public holidays.
So just like that morass between you.
Yeah. So if you can get it, it's good money. And I'll tell you what.
Well, you're not going to be working every day.
Well, I actually might be if I can get it. Anyway, will I just be able to buy a ticket?
Oh, after day 2, it's a gold coin donation.
Okay. All right.
And you'll get good seats.
Well, I'll just come with you then.
Yeah.
All right, mint.
Cool. Tell them you know a guy, and they're like, "Who the fuck are you?"
It's the guy wearing the wallabies. Yeah. All right. Feel like we're well and truly in the weeds, and this is probably as good time as any to wrap it up.
What about that final piece of news?
It's fine. Like it's literally
we said it months ago.
Yeah, the only reason to mention it is just for like the shitty payoff of like a half-conceived Mormon joke, and it's like there's plenty of time for Mormon jokes.
Yeah. And there's an iPad, not a book.
Yeah, exactly. All right, well that seems like a good place to leave it. Sean, as always, it's been an absolute pleasure. For the listeners, make sure that you are following us on all of our socials. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, if you're so inclined. If you're ever hopping around on YouTube, check out our videos on YouTube. Otherwise, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. Obviously, you're listening to this. And how about you just tell a friend? It's summer, everyone's out and about. You've had a conversation with someone who likes basketball. Oh, like, did you see LeBron? Yeah, like, oh, LeBron's really good. Oh, Steph Curry's pretty good. How about you just like slide it in there? Hey, there's this really good basketball podcast. Support local, support grassroots. Anyway, drop us a line.
And while you're dropping us a line, if you've also got a couple of minutes to muck around on the YouTubes, you might as well have a couple of minutes to go to thedeep2.com. Yes, it's that simple, thedeep2.com, no hyphens in between, because I wrote an article on Golden State's favourite son at the moment, and I say at the moment because we have so many, unlike some other teams who just can't happen to cobble together rotation players off a two-way contract in the last day. Gary Payton II, I love watching him, and he's actually like piecing together what could be the new death lineup. It's not the Hamptons 5, it's not the death lineup. It's when are we going to start calling him Gary Payton Senior and start referring to him as Gary Payton?
Damn.
And that's on thedeep2.com. We got a fucking website.
And it is that easy.
Yeah, it is. It is so. Anyway, Dante, I'll speak to you next week.
Hey, at 12 Don Yang. Do you like hearing the down low on all your NBA and basketball content?
Hey, at Will Conkin on Instagram and Twitter. Don't you mean the lowdown on NBA and basketball content?
No, I mean the down low, because that's our show, The Down Low,
where we give you the lowdown on everything NBA.
Check out The Down Low NBA on all your podcasting platforms like Spotify, Apple, or even Google Podcasts.
Google has podcasts?
Yeah, I didn't even know that either, but now you know, so go and get it in your ears.
We were over the moon when we first heard that the NBA was going to be televised on Australian free-to-air TV in the 2019-20 season. It didn't exactly go swimmingly, with the nasty cough halting the season and games getting cancelled left, right and centre, but it was a huge step and an exciting one for basketball fans all across the country.
Better yet, it wasn't a commercial channel cashing in on some basketball nerds like us. It was SBS, one of our public broadcasters. Unfortunately, the NBA wasn't the only thing SBS was pushing last season. They also ran advertisements from Sportsbet, Ladbrokes, Bet365, BetEasy, and Neds, some of the biggest sports betting companies in Australia.
In a one step forwards, two steps backwards move, SBS has dropped the ball here. As a public broadcaster, SBS plays a key role in providing relevant, culturally appropriate health information to local communities. The last thing SBS should be doing is offering a platform for gambling companies during the most financially unstable time in recent memory.
This past year, men aged 18 to 24 made up 79% of new gambling account holders, with increased median spending and frequency of bets. This is the last thing we should be spending our money on, given the financial uncertainty that comes with the pandemic. During COVID lockdowns, wagering companies spent more money on advertising and incentives to gamble, and it worked. SBS needs to hear from viewers that gambling ad revenue isn't worth the harm it causes. Call on the SBS chair, George Savitas, to put community health ahead of gambling revenue by signing the petition at www.endgamblingads.org.au/get gambling off SBS with hyphens in between.